Hey, everybody, and welcome to this deep dive into special ed law. We're going to be looking at how we make sure students with disabilities get the support they deserve.
Oh,
And
that's a fascinating area.
it really is.
Yeah, so many layers.
Yeah. Did you know that this whole idea of inclusive education
Right.
is actually a relatively recent thing?
It is. It really is. Not that long ago, a lot of students with disabilities were routinely excluded from public schools.
Wow.
Like it wasn't even a question.
It's amazing how much progress has been made.
Huge progress.
Yeah. What were some of those key turning points?
Well, a pivotal moment was when the Education for All Handicapped Children Act passed in 1975.
Okay.
EHCA, we call it.
EAHC, I got it.
That was really groundbreaking legislation, I think, because it laid the groundwork for what we know today as IDEA.
Okay, IDEA. I see that name everywhere when I'm researching this stuff.
For sure.
What makes it so important?
Well, think of IDEA as like the bedrock
Okay,
of special education law.
got it.
It guarantees a free, appropriate public education,
Yeah. Okay.
or APE,
APP.
to every eligible student with a disability.
I see.
And that means the education that they're provided with has to be individually tailored to their needs
Right.
and at no cost to the families.
Wow.
It's all about leveling the playing field.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I know IDEA also really emphasizes this least restrictive environment, the LRE.
Yes.
What exactly does that mean for students, practically speaking?
So the LRE is all about making sure that students with disabilities are educated alongside their peers without disabilities as much as possible,
Okay.
like the heart of inclusion.
Gotcha.
So, depending on their needs,
Mm-hmm.
a student might spend most of their time in a mainstream classroom,
Right.
other with additional support,
Yeah.
or they might be in a specialized classroom part of the day, but still get to
Interact.
interact with their peers in other settings.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's about finding that balance for each kid. Okay, cool. And speaking of that individualized approach,
Right.
I've always been curious about the IEPs.
Yeah.
How did those fit in?
So an IEP is like a personalized roadmap
Okay.
for each student's educational journey.
I like that.
It's a detailed plan created collaboratively
Okay.
by the parents,
Yeah.
the teachers, specialists,
Wow.
everybody working together to make sure that student gets the specific support they need to thrive.
Got it.
It outlines, the student's unique needs, their goals for their education, and the services they'll receive.
That makes IEPs sound incredibly powerful,
Oh, they are.
like a real driving force behind student success.
Totally.
But IDEA isn't the only law at play here, right?
Right.
There are other laws that protect students with disabilities.
Yeah, definitely.
Like what?
Well, there's Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973.
Okay.
Now, this is a big one.
Okay.
It's a landmark civil rights law
Got it.
that prohibits discrimination based on disability
Okay.
in any program or activity that gets federal funding,
So that includes schools.
especially schools.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a shield, making sure that students with disabilities have equal access regardless of their disability.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, cool.
So Section 504 requires schools to provide reasonable accommodations and modifications
Yeah, sure.
to create a learning environment that's inclusive.
Yeah,
It's all about removing those barriers
Well.
to success.
got it. And then there's the ADA.
Yes.
How does that fit into everything?
So the ABA,
Hmm?
which was enacted in 1990,
Okay.
it builds upon Section 504
Okay.
and broadens its reach.
Oh, okay.
Instead of just focusing on education,
Yeah.
the ADA extends those protections from discrimination to all areas of public life.
Wow. Okay.
Like it mandates reasonable accommodations to ensure that people with disabilities can participate in everything,
Wow.
from employment to transportation to accessing goods and services.
Really a much broader scope.
Much broader. It's really about creating a society where everybody has an equal opportunity.
That's great.
Yeah,
So we've got this trio.
a powerhouse.
Yeah. IDA, Section 504, ADA.
Yep.
All working together to make the world more inclusive.
Yes.
It's incredible how much these laws have impacted people's lives.
It really is. And I think it speaks volumes about the power of advocacy
Yeah.
and, the commitment to equal opportunity for everyone.
For sure. So we've talked about IDEA.
Yes.
We've talked about APE and LRE.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the other core elements of IDEA?
Well, let's dig a little deeper into some
Sure.
of those.
Okay. Awesome.
Because understanding those is so important for anyone advocating for students with disabilities.
Got it.
And I think another thing we should talk about is parental involvement.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
Because IDEA recognizes parents as essential partners
Makes
in
sense.
their child's education.
Absolutely.
What does that look like practically?
Yeah, I'm really interested to hear about that. What are some of the specific rights that parents have under IDEA?
Well, one of the most important rights is the right to participate in developing their child's IEP.
Oh, that makes sense.
Remember how we talked about the IEP being like a roadmap?
Yeah, like a personalized roadmap.
Exactly.
Okay,
So parents have a right to be involved in that whole process.
that makes a lot of sense. So they can contribute their insights and advocate for their child's needs.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, what about privacy? Like, how does IDEA protect student information?
IDEA takes confidentiality very seriously.
Okay.
Parents have the right to privacy regarding their child's records and any sensitive information.
Okay.
Those records are carefully protected
Yeah.
and can only be shared with people who have a legitimate educational interest in the student.
Okay.
It's all about respecting the family's
That
privacy.
makes sense. But what happens if there's a disagreement? Let's say the school and the parents don't agree on what's best for the student.
Right.
How does IDEA handle those situations?
IDEA provides several mechanisms for resolving disputes.
Yeah.
Often the first step is mediation,
Okay.
where a neutral third party will help the parents and the school have a productive conversation
Right.
and try to find some common ground.
Yeah, that sounds like a great first step.
It is.
What if they can't reach an agreement, though?
Then parents have the right to a due process hearing.
Oh, okay. And what is that?
It's a more formal legal proceeding
Oh, okay.
where both sides can present their case,
Uh-huh.
and then an impartial hearing officer makes a decision.
Wow.
It's a way to make sure everyone's rights are protected.
So there are safeguards in place.
Absolutely.
That's good to know. It really sounds like IDEA empowers parents to be active participants in their child's education.
Oh, for sure.
That's great. But you mentioned that these protections don't stop at the federal level.
Right.
What does that mean for families?
So each state builds upon those federal protections
Okay.
by developing its own regulations
Okay.
that complement IDEA. And these regulations often provide even more detailed guidance on how special education services should be run.
Oh, okay. So it's like an extra layer of protection
Exactly.
tailored to each state.
Yep. So,
Or-
for example, here in California,
Yeah.
our education code lays out specific provisions for students with disabilities
Uh-huh.
that go above and beyond IDEA.
Wow. Okay.
It creates a really comprehensive system.
That's great. So we have these strong federal laws
Yes.
and then the state-specific regulations.
Working together.
Creating this powerful support system for these families.
Yeah.
It's impressive to see all the thought and care that's gone into this framework.
It is.
But I do want to shift gears a bit and talk about technology.
Yeah.
Because it seems like things are changing rapidly.
It's changing everything.
Yeah. How is technology impacting special ed?
It's transforming education, and for students with disabilities, the impact is huge.
Okay.
We're seeing amazing advancements in assistive technology.
Oh, that's cool. What is that?
Assistive technology is like a whole range of tools
Okay.
and devices
Huh.
designed to address specific needs.
Okay.
So, for example, students with dyslexia,
Right.
they might use text-to-speech software that reads text aloud,
That's really cool.
so they can access written material on their own.
Yeah.
Or a student who is nonverbal might use a communication device
Wow.
that helps them express themselves
Yeah.
and interact.
That's really amazing.
It really is.
These technologies are unlocking so much potential.
They really are.
It's remarkable, but I imagine all this new technology also presents some challenges,
Of course.
especially when it comes to special ed law.
Definitely.
Like, how do we ensure that these technologies are accessible to all students who need them?
Right. And cost can be a barrier.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out how to equip schools with the resources to provide those tools
Right.
to every student.
It makes you think about FAPE too, right?
Oh, totally.
Like, does that concept need to be re-examined?
That's a great point. And it brings up legal questions.
Yeah.
Like, how do we protect student privacy?
Right.
How do we prevent data breaches?
Exactly. These are all questions lawmakers and educators are facing.
That's a lot to think about.
It is?
But the possibilities are really exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine a future where every student, regardless of their disability, has the tools they need
I love that.
to thrive and reach their potential.
It's a future worth striving for.
It is, but it's not just about technology,
Right.
right? There are these broader conversations about how best to support these students
Yes,
in
it's just
all aspects of their education.
we're seeing a growing emphasis on inclusive practices,
Mhm.
universal design for learning,
Yeah.
trauma-informed approaches.
Right. It's about creating a learning environment that is welcoming and supportive for everybody.
Absolutely.
And that brings us to the importance of advocacy,
Yes.
and community support.
Huge.
There are incredible organizations out there
So many.
dedicated to helping families
Yes.
navigate this world of special ed law.
And advocating for their rights.
For sure.
These resources can be invaluable for families who might be feeling overwhelmed.
Absolutely. It can be daunting
They can.
to navigate these systems.
Yeah. What are some of the key organizations that families should know about?
A great starting point is the National Parent-Teacher Association.
Oh, the PTA.
You know them.
Yeah, of course.
They offer a ton of information and resources on special ed.
Okay.
And the best part is
Yeah,
they have local chapters everywhere.
right.
So you can connect with people in your community
Yeah, that's great.
who understand the specific challenges you might be facing.
The PTA, that's a name everyone knows.
Yeah.
They've been around forever.
For a long time.
What other organizations should families know about?
Another good one is your local disability rights organization.
Uh-huh.
These organizations are focused on protecting the rights of individuals with disabilities,
Mm-hmm.
and they can provide a wide range of services,
Like what?
like legal assistance, advocacy support, information on different disabilities and conditions.
Wow, that's really helpful.
It is
They're like on the front lines.
They are.
Making sure that students' rights are being protected.
absolutely.
Knowing you're not alone and that there are people and organizations ready to help.
It's huge.
That can make all the difference.
It really can.
It's about finding your tribe, you know,
I love that.
that community that gets it
Yes.
and can help you navigate this.
Absolutely.
So the more you understand about special education law,
Right.
the better you'll be able to advocate for your child or for other students.
This is true.
Knowledge is power.
Totally.
I'm so glad we did this deep dive.
Me too.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
So much valuable information.
It's been eye-opening.
It has been. Let's recap some of what we've talked about,
Okay.
just to really drive it home.
Yeah.
We started by going back in time
Way back.
to those historical roots of special education law. And it's incredible how far we've come from that time when kids with disabilities were excluded from public schools.
It is amazing.
It really shows how important it is to keep pushing forward, you know.
keep fighting.
Yeah, to keep advocating.
Absolutely.
Then we talked about those three big laws.
The trifecta.
IDA, Section 504, and the ADA.
Yep.
These are the foundation of special ed law in our country.
Yes.
And they all work together to create this framework that guarantees a free, appropriate public education.
Right.
The FAPE,
In the least restrictive environment.
the LRE.
Exactly.
It's really a comprehensive system
Yes.
protecting these students from discrimination.
In all aspects of life.
And we talked about the IEP.
Yes. The personalized roadmap.
The roadmap's so important.
Such a powerful tool.
It is.
Empowering parents
Absolutely.
to be a part of their child's education.
Yeah.
And then we discuss those parental rights
Right.
that are so important,
Under IDEA.
giving them a voice.
Yes.
It's like having a toolkit.
It is filled with knowledge and resources
Exactly.
to help you confidently navigate special education law.
That's a great way to put it.
And then we talked about how each state has its own set of regulations
Right.
that complement those federal laws,
Yeah.
providing even more protection,
Exactly.
making sure those special ed services are implemented effectively.
Across the board.
And then we touched on technology
Oh, yeah.
and virtual learning,
It's changing everything.
transforming special education.
Opening up new opportunities.
So many possibilities, but we also have to be careful
Right.
about making sure everyone has access
Equity is key.
and thinking about those legal and ethical considerations.
Can't forget about that.
And then finally,
We talked about
that network of support,
the support system.
those advocacy groups,
So important.
the PTA,
Yes.
disability rights organizations,
They can be a lifeline
providing that guidance and support
for those families.
who are navigating this world.
They're not alone.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of special ed law,
Right.
we hope you feel empowered
Absolutely.
by what you've learned.
Knowledge is power.
The more we understand,
Yeah.
the better we can advocate
For these students.
and create a future where every student has the opportunity to thrive.
That's the goal.
It's a future worth fighting for.
It is.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a topic that matters.
Yeah, they can be a lifeline for sure.
Yeah, so important. So as we wrap up this deep dive, into special ed law,
Yeah.
we hope you feel empowered by all this information.
Yeah.
The more we understand these laws, the better equipped we'll be to advocate for students with disabilities and
Great to see.
create a future where everybody has the opportunity to thrive and reach their potential.
Absolutely. That's what we want.
It's a future worth fighting for.
It really is.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into special ed law.
It was my pleasure.
I feel like I learned so much.
It's been great.
And we hope you did too, so.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a topic that matters.